Great numbers.
So let's talk some content.
Okay.
Last month we jumped in and we talked about Anthony Iannarino's book, and we talked about the importance. Maybe we shared, particularly with the commercial folks, we shared the idea of maybe sharing transition plans with the customers before you ask for the money, because I've always looked at commercial sales very different than residential sales here at Orkin, in the fact that commercially we are flat out in the takeaway business. You've got, for the most part, 95% of the time, what you're selling and pitching is you're knocking it out a current vendor. And I think if we don't, like we talked about last broadcast, we won't go into it, but if you missed it, it's worth going back and I got the timestamps on the YouTube channel now, so just speed to that and take those 15 minutes of content in. But to build on that, to share those transition plans ahead of time to make the customer more at ease. Right. I think the other thing that we get into, I think one of the best opportunities we have is to spin our triple guarantee. They already have somebody. For the most part, they haven't called you. I'm talking about the folks that aren't inbound leads. This is something you're street hustling up, you're creating, right? You start it from the beginning. You bump into somebody at a Publix and you start the conversation. So you're in this takeaway business, and they already have a vendor in place, and they're not calling because they're mad as a hornet and they got to fire these guys. They're not calling because they failed an audit. They're just saying, okay, I'll let you come talk to me, right? So you get in there, you do the inspection, you kick the tires, you certainly will uncover some pain points anywhere. Right. You get a chance to nose around anywhere and kick some tires. You're going to find some stuff. But at that point in time, did you find enough stuff to kick them over the edge to come to us, first off, paying more money and dealing with that whole transition mess and that adversity to change that most buyers have, right? I mean, correct. It's not like broke, it's not super bad. Yeah. But
it's good enough.
Yeah, is it good enough? Nobody ever says anything, but you did show me some stuff, those pictures of those bait stations, that haven't been checked, and all that kind of stuff that you serve up to them. Is it enough? Is it enough pain to push them over the edge? And how can you ease them into us? Right. I think first you talk about how we're going to make it easy for them to switch, the transition
That's a big one,
plan.
always a big one.
And second, I always talk about putting our money where our mouth is, and talking about the fact that we're so confident in the work that we do that we don't need any of your money, and we will give you all your money back if you're not completely satisfied. And that's the triple guarantee. So I'm going to put it in a script so that we can get it into the AI. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but I just want to walk through, I think. So I hear a lot of role plays with both the rack close, and I hear a lot of role plays with the triple guarantee. And what we end up doing in most of these role plays, and I get people get nervous, and I see a bunch of stuff posted on GroupMe's when you're practicing. I get that people get nervous, but mostly what I see and hear when I'm in these live role play environments, and even in some of this tape stuff, is just people spitting the facts, right? I mean, they're just literally saying, here's the guarantee, without adding any color to it or adding any story selling to it. And I think it's often not, I mean, you talk about this all. It's not really what you say, it's kind of how you say it too, right? Yeah. So you think about our guarantee, there's 3 pieces of it, right? And I tell the customers that, we tend to call it in-house, we call it our triple guarantee, right? And the first one is the 224 response, to where, if you need us, and I always tie an analogy into this when I'm talking about it. When you need us, you need us. We're like the firemen. We got to be there ready for you. So the thing that we promise you, Victor, in our 224 is that you make a call, and you need some more help from us, then we're going to be there for you. We're going to respond within 2 hours, and we are contractually obligated to be on site within 24. Right. That's the facts of the guarantee. Right. The spin of the guarantee, and the word that I always bake into it, in the unlikely event that you have a flare-up in between regular services. Yeah. Let's say you have ants. So I always make it not the subject, not the pest that we're chasing there. We got called in for roaches, we got called in for mice, we got called in for rats. I'm not going to say in the unlikely event that rats come back. Right. Or you're going to say, well, your stuff doesn't work. I will always spin another insect into it by saying, in the unlikely event that you get like a flare-up of ants, Victor, in the break room, where the folks are back there having lunch. Right. Here's how we respond. You call us, we respond within 2 hours, we're there within 24. Right. Taking that, using those words, in the unlikely event, I think that's one of those buzzwords you got to bake in there, and you always make it not the pest that we're there to fix, or not the one that we found, right? Does that make some sense?
No, I love the way that you said, I love the way you separate it. Yeah. It's well said, because again, there's something psychological there, because again, it could be construed as, so you're saying you're not even sure if your stuff works.
Exactly.
And it's like, that's not what you want to say. And it's not, again, it's not sometimes what you say, in this case it does matter, but how you say it and how you layer that in there. So I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you tee that all up with the confidence that we have in our people. I always, when I was selling, I mean, Tim Lamont's still here killing commercial critters up in Youngstown, but he was my commercial tech, right? And I always, the coolest thing about doing business with us is you got Tim Lamont, We are so confident in the work that Tim and our team of folks will do that we don't need any money up front. We're going to give you all these guarantees. So that's the first stage of the guarantee, the 224. The other is the reimbursement, depending on what industry you're in. If you're talking to a restaurateur, if their guest has a sighting of a roach or a rat or a mouse or a rodent, we're going to do something unheard of in the industry, and we're going to pick that ticket up. We're going to reimburse you. Relax. Then we'll even send that customer a letter that says, hey, it was our fault, we own it. Very few people take advantage of our triple guarantee. And all of our competitors have a triple guarantee that's somewhat similar to ours. But it's how you spin it and how you say it to the customer to take that ease away. And oftentimes it's like, one of those deals where they're not getting that right now, right? So typically, what I've experienced, what you kind of share with me is you're not getting that kind of 224 response time, right? So you're just planting that seed, and you're waiting to spin that. So that's the second piece, is the reimbursement piece.
Love it.
And then the one that pulls it all together, where we really truly put our money where our mouth is that we're going to give you all your money back. If you're not completely satisfied with the service, we are so confident in the work that our team does. You trust us. We're going to take this off your plan. We're going to own it. We're going to own it. Nonverbals, all that kind of stuff. We're going to own it, and we will give you all your money back if you're not completely satisfied.
I was going to ask you, Ed, is that do you see a difference in the presentation, the pitch here, whether it's an inbound call or whether it's you trying to get the business? Do you see a difference in you seeing that?
I don't think commercially it makes that big a difference, because I still think you got to spin it. Particularly if it's a lead, because if it's a lead, if they've called us, something's failed, right? And it's easy pickings, right? You just.
I guess that's right.
Yeah, because they've called in and they're not happy. Oh yeah, well we're not going to do that. I mean, you don't attack the competition, but you just serve up stuff like we're going to be here with 224. Kind of what you shared with me, Victor. I don't know that that's really happening right now. That's all I kind of say. I don't dive into, well, your current company doesn't do that, right? Or Terminex doesn't do that, or they don't do this. All those kind of things. But I want to focus on the 95% of the business that these people sell that isn't the result of a lead. These folks, they get like 2-3 leads a month, right? I mean, people don't call in commercial, because of that. They're happy with who they have. That big status quo thing that sits out there that is so difficult to I guess, drag them away to bring them over. And I think with the transition plan and the spin and the triple guarantee, I think it works that way. More thoughts on that?
I always think it's fascinating that people have that friction piece in their head. You mentioned it earlier, that there's this, if I'm going to cancel this contract to go with you, what is that going to be like? What's that going to take? And it's how do you address that also in that pitch, right? So you got again, the triple guarantee, but it's also say, switching over is going to be easy. Like, what are some of the words or things that we say that makes it seem like, the transition is not going to be that hard?
Well, I think we drilled that one last week quite a bit, last month, and just talked about, how we're going to hold their hand all the way through it. Here's what we're going to do, boop, 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 boop. We've got to get a transition plan together for a large national account. One's already signed on, and the other one's about to sign on. We got one that landed for $4 million. We got another one that's going to land for another $4.5 million. And their big concern is working through the transition plan. How does this work? How fast can you execute? They wanted to know. I mean, Dave Henry got the call yesterday. What's the best time to do this? What's the best schedule? And what if it's a break glass? What if we send notice to our competitor and Ecolabs quits? Right. So so working through that takes a lot. That's what they're nervous about. They're cool with everything we've said. They love our program, but now their big worry is how you going to bring us over? How are you going to onboard us so there's no bumps? We got a bumpy one right now. We got a healthcare group that we put on. We wanted to start it in September, but they pushed us to start it in August. And some of those guys up in the Midwest, poor Gary Dady, he's dealing with that now, right? So we told the customer we could get it done in August, but we probably overpromised. And we're certainly under-delivering now because we're getting our tails chewed out, right? But again, it was them saying you need to move in. You got to help us sooner. So we're trying. Every time you try to do something for people, you end up getting yourself into pickle, right? So we're in a pickle on that one.
Especially if you're not ready for it.
And we weren't ready for it, right?
It happens. We've all been there. I was going to say what I like about it, we always talk about confidence margin, right? Improve their confidence margin, and I've always defined it as you got to reduce their anxiety and increase their certainty, right? That this is the right move. What I love about the triple guarantee, that it really follows the rules. You're reducing their anxiety with the triple guarantee, but then the certainty piece comes in when you say, and here's how it's going to work. And then you widen that confidence margin. They're more likely to say yes than no.
And you take all the financial risk off the table.
Correct. Yes, that's the anxiety piece that you're taking away.
And we own it. I mean, this is We own it. That's the nonverbal I laid on.
Right.
We own it at that point in time.
Right.
You sign on that line, we own it. We take it from there.
I'm with you.
The other thing I love to do with the triple guarantee is I love to go to the fine print first, right? You know, and salespeople usually don't do that. You know, I just go right to the fine print and I show it to them right on the guarantee. The fine print is simply this, Victor. You know, Victor, fine print. There's only two things, right? I like to share this with everybody because everybody wants to know what's in the fine print.
Right.
Here's the fine print with our working contract.
Right.
Victor, we expect you to pay your bill. You okay with that?
Yes.
We expect you to pay your bill. The second thing is that, you know, we talked about this partnership we're trying to build. We expect you to fix the stuff that we ask you to fix, that we're going to document and put on your service reports. It says, hey, I need you to clean up that 3-compartment sink area. It's a mess. You got to help us. We can't do this alone. Or you got to fix that hole in the back, or we're never going to stop the rats from getting in here.
Right.
So that I love serving up the fine print. What I'm going to do with this script, and you and I messed around with this, and I got all screwed up with flights last night. We're trying to have this locked and loaded. I'm going to, and I talked to Palermo a little bit about this too yesterday. I'm going to script this whole thing out. If you go out to my YouTube channel, there are probably me spinning the triple guarantee 4 or 5 different versions out there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them one with all the kitchen sink in it, like all the little nuances that you can put in it. And then we're going to load that into ChatGPT, and you're going to show them how to practice.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you a question. When you talk about the fine print, like what have you seen that's been effective? You do the triple guarantee, and then you discuss the fine print?
It depends on the mood. Sometimes I'll lead with the fine print. If they seem to be skeptical, I'll just lead with the fine print.
Okay. I think it's really interesting, that combination. But anyway, let's jump. Should we jump ChatGPT?
So AI has taken hold of a whole bunch of you folks. I mean, I got emails back from the last session we had. It's just going crazy.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if the group, the branch managers up in Wisconsin are having a big meeting, and I went in and talked to them a little bit virtually yesterday, and I think they're on the broadcast here. But you know, they're making all AI is becoming really prevalent.
Right.
And I teased our team to get back after it. But let show them a way on how to practice with AI, because this is pretty sharp.
All right. So let's check out AI for a second here. And again, it's role-playing with ChatGPT or any of the GPTs, right? So prompt engineering, as you know, is the practice of crafting or refining a prompt, basically an input. So let's skip that. Let's say you just want to role-play with the machine, if I can say it this way. You can say, hey, you are the decision maker. You're saying, you, ChatGPT, Perplexity, whatever you use, Claude, you are the decision maker at ABC Company. Role-play a salesperson calling you. Says, you'll play the decision maker, I'll play the salesperson. Give me time to respond with each of your questions and objections. My goal is to get a meeting with you, the decision maker. Let's keep role play to 5 minutes. And so let's pause there, because what will happen then is that you can actually begin the role playing. And so what will happen is, you know, the machine will begin. By the way, if you've actually role played with ChatGPT or any of the other large language models, put it in the chat, because I think it's really fascinating. Now, you can actually prompt a thing early on and say, okay, here are the 5 objections I typically get, or the 5 pushbacks, and then insert this script, and we'll send you that script as well. And it's really cool, because that line is important. Give me time to respond, which means it prompts the large language model, the GPTs, to basically wait for you to respond, and you can have an interesting dialogue. Remember the saying, never practice on your customers. In this case, now you can practice with a robot.
Yeah, and I've seen it happen. I've messed around with it a whole bunch, and we're going to serve that stuff up for you. But just think of all the stuff that you get into.
Right.
You know, a cold call, a phone call, a face-to-face call. You know, work it out that way. An objection that you're getting all the time. You know, your price is too high. You know, walk me through that. Let me practice that. The triple guarantee that we're going to load in their form, right? That they can load that language in. But I think, you know, the art of role play is a lost art. I think in most of our branches. I mean, there are some folks that still do it pretty successfully, but for the most part, it's gone. And everybody always got a little bit nervous in role play, even me. You know, I mean, I certainly, as long as I've been doing this, I'll step up and spin anything and take a shot at it. But I still get those nervous tingles when I know it's going to be my turn. You know, my turn to jump in the ring to spin my rack close or to my triple guarantee close. But at the same time, this you can do on your own. This you can do on your own, in your own privacy.
I want to highlight this because it's important. You're saying do it on your own privacy. You can actually give the large language models, and I'll talk about ChatGPT, an actual personality. Like you can tell it who you are and give it as much details as you want. Like, you know, you can say, you know, Ed Donahue, Yinzer,
Norma. Norma.
Yeah,
My mother's name.
Is that,
I renamed mine Norma.
okay, and so yeah, I have
Call her
mine-
Norm. Call her Normie.
Mine is Soul.
Yeah.
So I love this, and so, but you can give it your personality. So when it does the role playing, it puts it in your context, in your word. What's also interesting, most people don't realize, is that you can kind of keep saying, no, that doesn't feel comfortable. Give me another way of saying it, and then you can just go back and forth. If I can just show the last slide, so we can begin to get out of here. The next one is that you can actually have the large language model actually role play itself. So let's say you just don't know how to role play. In this case, I mean, I know I got it with Ractor, but just insert triple guarantee. You can say create a 2-person role playing scenario where you're the decision maker at ABC Company, and you're also the salesperson, trying to close a sale or trying to get a meeting. And you watch this thing go back and forth, Ed. It's really brilliant. But what's also cool is you can give it again the type of objections that you're going to get, and it'll role play the objections. And sometimes we don't have the language or the words, and it gives you the words as you're role playing this thing.
Amen. Amen. Let alone all the stuff you can do with your emails and your letters of introduction, all that kind of stuff. If you guys haven't figured it out by now, that message I send every night is flat coming right out of ChatGPT-4. I just literally talk it into my phone. I do a little massaging with it, and it's all coming from there. I'm adding all the icons, all the emojis, all that kind of stuff is literally done on my phone. I never touch the keyboard other than copy and paste it into the email.
This is so important because there is a genuine difference between typing something in role playing and then doing it voice. And voice is more natural. And I think you'll enjoy the experience more. Have you found that? It's more enjoyable.
100%.
Yeah, I don't want to type. I want to talk to it.
And again, I mentioned this before. I haven't Googled anything in 7 or 8 months.
Okay.
If I got a question, last night, what's the national holidays for today? And here come the chocolate pecan. And And
I want to note here. Joel Snell says, I did some fun practice with it. And Justin Toops says, one of my favorite things to do during a slump is work with ChatGPT or something.
Amen.
So
Amen.
Again, if you're not playing with the tools, I think you're missing out. And there's so many ways to kind of use some of the items here. And again, the discussion piece is always interesting. I'm trying to layer, or at least emphasize something here is that the more you can tweak the responses as you're typing or talking to it, the better the responses will be.
Amen.
And then, again, remember, it's pulling from the internet the best of the best resources. And I had a friend of mine call me yesterday, and he said, Victor, do you think ChatGPT really can mimic you? And I said, I think so. And he said, let me ask you a question. And he asked me the question. And sure enough, he'd already typed it into ChatGPT, and we matched him up. 95% on money.
Crazy.
So you can actually you can say, I want to talk to ABC expert. How would ABC expert say it? And it will give you that type of response. It's amazing. It's amazing.
And share what you shared this morning. So he posted something today on his YouTube trail. It's in Spanish, and I said that's ChatGPT. He said, yes, that's ChatGPT.
Yeah, we're using
took the whole presentation, right?
Yeah, we're using I think it's 11 Labs. Yeah. So now it does the voice. So it's taken a video, one of my videos, and then it now translates it. It transcribes it, translates it. I gave it about 2 minutes of my voice, and then Spanish. It says, what Spanish do you want? So it's Spain Spanish, Argentinian Spanish, Mexico. Obviously for me, Puerto Rican Spanish. And it actually did that. We're listening to it, and I'm sitting there going, oh, snap, this thing really works. It's amazing.
And again, converting all your emails and some of your documents to Spanish or whatever. We got a lot of areas in the country where we call them folks that don't speak English.
And again, remember that with ChatGPT, when you're using it with a customer that maybe doesn't speak English, you can say, what do you call it, Norma?
Yeah.
Norma, you can say, Norma, I'm going to speak English. My friend here is going to speak Spanish. Translate our conversation, and it will translate real time the conversation. It's amazing.
Amen. Amen. So again, just trying to tease you to get your toe in the water.